Monster Hunter Rise is a different beast, if you'll excuse the pun, especially when you compare it to Monster Hunter World. Released on the Switch prior, Monster Hunter Rise was a more open, more accessible game with a limited scope compared to World, less survival elements, but it was also improved in many places when it comes to verticality, sheer fluidity of movement, from riding your Palamutes to using the wire bugs to get around the game world. While this game is actually coming out in January 2022, the demo was available on Steam. People can jump in and play it now. And I decided, you know what? Let's take a look at this thing. My God, I was highly impressed with it. Knowing that Rise is captivating even now with just one area to explore, I'm quite excited for the full game. Still, it is set up differently than Monster Hunter World. That first time you're riding around on your mount through a tunnel of dark trees and you see one of the monsters show up, it's instantly everything that Monster Hunter Rise should have been on the Switch, but because of the way that was delivered, it just couldn't be. And I'm not saying the Switch version is bad. The introduction of the Palamutes and how they shadow box when you're practicing moves is awesome, something that we saw on the Switch originally. That feeling of atmosphere as well as familiarity with a loyal dog friend, taking him into battle, I got to admit, that is a highlight for me already. Monster Hunter games didn't hit that with the other pets. Palamutes are rideable. They can attack with a weak attack against creatures. You can also harvest while riding them. You can take potions while riding them. You can sharpen your weapons, and they don't use stamina when on their backs. And while traversal has always been an important part of the Monster Hunter games, in Rise and jumping onto the PC with the mouse and keyboard, you can see where this is just going to take it up a huge level. It shows its Switch roots, though, graphically a bit more closely than I would like. Now, this is a beta, but from time to time, you have some really basic-looking geography and some wicked pop-in. To be fair, again, this is out now, and it's going to actually be released in January 22, but it's something to be well aware of. However, exploring even that limited location with the much higher frame rate and resolution targets, even if the bare-bones skeleton of it is still Rise from the Switch, it is a massively different feel to it. It's resulted in this huge jump in performance, not only from the Switch, but from the sometimes finicky CPU and GPU usage that a lot of us actually saw on Monster Hunter World. Still, those over-the-top monster designs that we saw originally are front and center here, and remember that Rise does have new monsters that you won't have encountered in Monster Hunter World. The size of the demo is only around 9 gigs, as that is just a couple basic missions. It does allow for you to engage in various different movements, travel, and traversal to sort of give you an idea of those. I was getting well over 100 FPS with the 2080 Ti at 4K and 1440p. I was getting over 90 FPS on the 1080 Ti. There's also a way it does its shadowing, which I have not seen before, and I can see some people, if they look really close at it, not liking the way that appears. Less so impressive was the audio system. So the music is fine. There's a lot of stuff here from the Switch, but be aware the sound is a bit compressed and crunchy. I'm not sure if that's the audio samples from the Switch version moving over and are going to be representative of the quality when this actually gets released. It's not terrible. It's just something that you can sort of hear going on in the background when you're fighting sometimes. A little bit more tinny than I was expecting. I haven't taken apart the pack that's inside of the file structure in this game, so maybe I'm wrong here and it's just something else going on with the various different settings. And in a lot of places, the voices are just one sentence and then some reading, that kind of thing. So again, we'll have to see how that's sort of brought to the forefront for sure as a complete title. The demo's limited in gameplay though, so it throws you into a couple tutorial missions, then missions, leaping in to hunt down some creatures, whether you're alone or with others. Now, the multiplayer seemed to work just fine, being able to jump in. Connections were instant. I had no real problems grouping up with anybody, and I haven't actually heard of any. What Rise's changes though, I think are more important than what stays the same. The largest one has to be the wire bugs. They allow for you to not only quickly travel around some of the areas, but also attack enemies by boosting into the air. Wire bugs add a feeling of traversal and fidelity and just fix the flexibility issues that we saw in the prior games that the Monster Hunter World series was. There's something a little bit crunchy about a lot of the ways those move. And don't get me wrong, there's still an increased weight of any character if they're carrying the hammer and those kind of things. But the ability to use the wire bugs with a set of charges to sort of understand exactly what they can do adds a great deal to this. Another thing that the wire bugs do is they allow for you to Wyvern ride, which lets you use the wire bugs to actually ride creatures that you engage with. So if you find two large ones near one another, you can tether onto one like a barebacked horse and kick the shit out of the other enemies. I did check that out, and you should see some footage here. I can see that being used to stunning effect as we continue to play this. Another big change that they make is the endemic life. This is more impactful now as you ride around or run around or just rip through the back 40 of some mystical dragon land. You can consume many of these prior to or during combat, and they can substantially improve your ability to engage with the monsters. It sort of shifts over the survival aspects that we saw a lot of times with the potions. And while potions are still here, the survival aspect isn't as much, and what we end up getting is something that when you're out and about traveling, it feels a little bit quicker, a little bit smoother for you to be able to do those things, or a lot of those things, in the field. Now, with the new elements and more, as well as the ability to travel on the Palamutes, engage more freely with the environment, Rise feels both more engaging than the prior title and less complex. Whether in the long run that's going to pay off for PC gamers or not, it's something to be said for it, because I do feel like a lot of people might be able to jump into this and really actually engage with it at an easier level. And again, a reminder, the survival overarching mechanics of World are mostly gone. Drinking potions for specific areas, for example. Here in Rise, again, it's more about that endemic life. I played with the mouse and keyboard and the controller, both felt fine. Of course, we'll just have to see how it all feels once it comes together. When it comes to fun, though, I had a blast with this. It looks awesome, it plays awesome, and when I say looks awesome and plays awesome, you have to have the expectations of what Rise delivered originally. This does seem to have a very good changeover and a good port so far, but we'll have to wait for the full game. It feels enjoyable, I like the characters, and I love the changes. And the Palamutes, this is probably the 5th time I've mentioned them. The idea of riding a dog of war is just awesome to me. So far, that has been one of the big parts. There's a lot of thematic cartoonness to the way that they act and react around you. And like I said, when you're fighting and learning your moves and they're shadow boxing in the background behind you, that's just something really cool and really familiar about it. And I love that. I would love to know what you guys think. Go to Steam. You can download this, check it out for yourself, right? Jump in there, see if you're going to like this. Maybe if you're a little bit stymied by the original game's overarching survival elements, you might want to check out Rise. I mean, damn, it's free to go ahead and check out these demos. I suggest you absolutely do. But I want to know what you think of this video and what you think of what I said. Do you disagree? Do you agree? Put it in the comments. Leave a comment. Light them up. I want to hear from you guys on this game. I want to hear what you guys think, what you're excited for. If you get a chance, check out my Welcome to or Meeting Your Monsters video on The Hague for Back 4 Blood. Somebody was worried it had spoilers. It does not, and I got that a lot. It's just more about little set piece videos I'm going to do where I cover monsters, villains, and heroes from our games with statistical information as well as combat information, and just do a little something fun on the side. Anyway, that's it for me. Check out more reviews later this week as well as the podcast. Peace out.